GM bet the farm, $130 billion on EVs, a moonshot to dethrone Tesla. Instead, they're drowning in debt. Meanwhile, Tesla is sitting on nearly $37 billion in cash, and China is flooding the world with cheap electric vehicles. This is more than just GM stumbling. It's a sign of America falling behind. Tesla has found its escape hatch through autonomy, while China has gone all in on EVs and is reshaping the global auto market. And here's the kicker. By 2030, EVs are projected to make up more than a quarter of all global car sales. So GM's recent decision to flip-flop and backpedal into hybrids might buy them a couple of years, but it is not salvation, it's delay. Let's take a look. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. Let's dig into how GM got here, why Tesla is skating to where the puck is going, and how China may have already locked in the future of cars. Back in 2021, GM made a bold pledge, all electric vehicles by 2035. They plowed $35 billion into EVs, powered by their Ultium battery platform. GM, of course, had had some early wins, most infamously the EV1 back in the early 2000s, but more recently the Chevy Bolt proved to them and to the rest of the world that they could build a decent EV. So GM skipped hybrids entirely while the rest of the market was going that way, and they bet big on going full EV, which, by the way, was the right decision. The trouble is that reality has hit them hard since then. In 2021, GM promised that by 2023, they would deliver 400,000 EVs. What did they actually ship? 76,000. And Ultium-based cars were just 0.5% of those total sales. 0.5%. Even their BrightDrop electric van project, which I had actually completely forgotten about until I did research for this video, which was supposed to revolutionize last mile delivery, sold only about 250 vehicles. That's right, that's not a revolution, that's a rounding error. And while sales were sputtering, the debt kept piling up. GM had about $20 billion of debt back in 2013. By 2025, that has ballooned to $130 billion. That's right back where they were in 2009 before their government-backed bankruptcy bailout, and who knows, but that might be happening again with GM, and we taxpayers might end up holding the bag for them and paying off that $130 billion of debt. In July of 25, GM's leadership, led by flip-flop Mary Barra, who has no conviction and no ability to stay the course, had to face furious investors on an earnings call. Analysts grilled Barra, even if Tesla is pulling money out of autos to fund AI and robotics, how do you expect GM to make money with EVs? Their answer, GM dropped its EV goals and pivoted yet again, this time back to hybrids. So guess what? They're promising 9 new hybrid models by 2027. It's like GM has learned nothing. It's don't just introduce 1 or 2 models, introduce 9 of them. You've got to just flood the market with all of these stupid hybrids, which, by the way, of course, are just a stopgap. They may sell well for a few more years because of the way incentives have gone, but there is no chance that hybrids will be the long-term future. So the truth is that GM has dug a deeper hole than anyone else in the industry, except maybe Volkswagen, and now they may not be able to climb out. So let's contrast this with Tesla. In 2024, Tesla sold about 1.8 million EVs, and as of mid-2025, they've got nearly $37 billion in cash on hand. Subtract the $13 billion or so that they have in debt, and that's roughly $23 billion in net cash. Here's the scale. GM's debt today is about the same as Tesla's entire market cap just a few years ago. That's how upside down this comparison has become. But of course, Tesla isn't just playing the car game anymore. Elon Musk has been redirecting capital from traditional autos into AI, autonomy, and humanoid robotics. Tesla's robotaxi rollout is already happening. Fleets are already operating in Austin and the Bay Area, and Musk has promised no safety drivers by year's end. He even claims that about 50% of the US could be covered by robotaxis by the end of 2025. That's about 4 or 5 months away. That timeline is ambitious, sure, and whether they'll meet that or not, I don't think they're going to actually meet that, but whether it takes 1 year or 2 years, it will come to pass. And the economics are crushing. Tesla's Cybercab robotaxis are targeting under 25 cents a mile. When you compare that to the US average of about 72 cents a mile, the cost of owning a personal vehicle, you don't need an MBA to see which one wins in the long term. ARK Invest projects that by 2030, as much as 90% of Tesla's value could come from fleets, not car sales. Where is GM on this? Their autonomy bet Cruise is dead. They have no robotics play. They wasted tens of billions of dollars years chasing EV dominance, and now they're backpedaling into hybrids, which was yesterday's technology. Tesla doesn't just sell cars anymore. They sell freedom of movement as a service. Meanwhile, GM sells trucks that look like they were built in the 20th century. And now let's turn to China. If Tesla is one part of this story, China is the other. In 2024, China sold about 11 million EVs. By 2025, they're on track to top 20 million units. That means they will sell more EVs than the entire US auto market, period. And as for exports, BYD alone exported around 800,000 vehicles in 2025, and they're not slowing down. Europe, Latin America, Southeast Asia, they're everywhere. China's new energy vehicles, EVs plus admittedly plug-in hybrids for now, accounted for 27% of global sales in 2024. By 2030, that number will easily be over 30% and probably quite a bit more. And they've got a pricing hammer too. Domestic buyers can get EVs for about $10,000 US, and export models undercut Western brands by thousands of dollars. Where China goes, the world must follow because they're simply the largest market. Cheaper, simpler EVs with tech-forward features are inevitable. Meanwhile, in the US, EV penetration in 2025 is stuck around 10%. That's just 1.6 million vehicles sold. While America argues over charging stations and removes incentives, China is locking up global supply chains, scaling battery production, and exporting vehicles by the literal boatload. Any country that makes cars and doesn't aggressively compete in EVs is going to end up a spectator. GM still has around 17% market share in the US, but has fallen to less than 5% globally. They're trapped in the American market at the exact moment that EVs are going global. And then, of course, there's the policy whiplash. The US government has cut the $7,500 federal tax credit for EVs in about 7 days from as I record this on September 30th of 2025. And almost overnight, you are going to see EV sales plunge. And here's the great irony of this decision. Those policies supposedly were meant to protect Detroit, but they may have just strangled it instead. GM and Ford will retreat into hybrids, and Tesla, meanwhile, has to skate to where the puck will be in autonomy and will power through with robo-taxis and fleet ownership. And of course, China, with its cost advantages and global reach, will continue to ship millions of EVs abroad, and eventually those will flood the United States as well as the rest of the world. So sadly, government help for Detroit looks less like medicine and more like poison. So now let's talk about hybrids. Hybrid sales in the US jumped 53% in 2023. Globally, the market was worth nearly $300 billion in 2024, and it's forecast to top $500 billion by 2032. For now, hybrids are profitable and customers like them. Of course, GM skipped hybrids entirely, unlike Toyota, Ford, Stellantis, and many other companies. At first, that looked like the right call, aimed straight for the end game of zero emissions. But when the EV road got bumpy, GM panicked instead of staying the course. And now they're promising 9 hybrids by 2027, which will probably be more like 2028, maybe even 2029. Here's the problem. Hybrids are a bridge technology. By the time that GM's new hybrids hit the market, battery costs will have fallen another 50%, EV total cost of ownership will be far lower than hybrids, and consumers will figure that out fast. And just as GM's hybrids arrive, Tesla's robotaxis and China's cheap EVs will be flooding the market. Hybrids won't be a lifeline, they'll be another very expensive albatross around GM's neck. Hybrids may look like salvation today, but by 2027, they'll look like another delay tactic that cost GM billions more. So the big picture, GM is carrying a mountain of debt. Their leadership can't stay the course. Tesla has a mountain of cash and an aggressive push into autonomy, and China has created a global EV tsunami. Hybrids might buy GM some time if they can even launch them on schedule, but the inevitable endgame is fleets of fully electric, fully autonomous vehicles. That's where the economics win. That's where the future is going. The future isn't ownership, and certainly not of hybrids. It's clean, cheap EV fleets. Tesla and China are already heading there very quickly, and GM and maybe Detroit as a whole simply risk becoming a spectator. Alrighty folks, that's what I've got for you today. Let me know in the comments what you think about all of this. Do you think that GM has a chance with this flip-flop play, or is the US, are we taxpayers, going to end up bailing GM out yet again? Definitely let me know what you think, and while you're down there, if you don't mind liking the video and consider subscribing for more of this kind of content, that really helps out. Thank you so much. And in the meantime, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.